have a problem.
You really do.
Who the hell said that?
Hello everybody, Concession Players here, and welcome back to my Godzilla review series. Today we're going to be looking at Chapter 2, the Heisei Era. So, after Terror of Mechagodzilla, Toho decided to give the series a 10-year break, which is understandable. The Showa era was starting to get a bit goofy, and I believe they wanted to return to something more grounded, serious and realistic. So, let's dive into the Heisei Era and see what they cooked up, starting with... Godzilla returns. After 10 years of silence since Terror of Mechagodzilla, Godzilla 1984 or Godzilla Returns serves as both a reboot and a sequel to the original 1954 film, ignoring every other Showa era film and beginning its own timeline of movies in what is called the Heisei Era. It begins with a Japanese fishing vessel being attacked by a giant unidentified monster, I'm sure you can guess who. A reporter finds the boat and saves one of the crewmates from a giant sea lice which... ugh, looks goddamn disgusting. Gives me the heebie-jeebies. With the news of Godzilla's return, the government are forced to keep quiet about the ordeal to not cause mass hysteria. And well, the film delves into political territory, but unlike most subjects that do that and end up being boring, at least to me personally, here it's presented as believable and quite interesting to watch, like a Russian submarine being attacked by Godzilla, but the Russians blame it on the Americans, which escalates into almost causing a nuclear war, until the Japanese say to both of them, hey, it wasn't the Americans, it was a big giant radioactive lizard. So, coming up with a plan, they aimed to nuke Godzilla, which of course, you know, Japan would be screwed if that happened. The Japanese say no, much to the dismay of the Americans and Russians. Godzilla then attacks Tokyo in classic fashion, and once again, the army are useless to stop him. Now, I would say after 16 movies, it's never gonna work, but in this timeline, it's the second time he's appeared, so I'll let it pass. Godzilla is then sedated with the use of this UFO-looking ship called the Super X. All looks well until, oh, an accidental missile from the Russians has been launched and is now going to destroy Tokyo until the Americans shoot it down, which then causes a nuclear storm which revives Godzilla. How can you guys fuck up this much in such a short amount of time? The Super X is destroyed until they create a transmitter that lowers Godzilla to a volcano to fall into, and that's how he's beat. It's gonna be really interesting to see how he comes back after that. Yeah. So what did I think? I enjoyed Return of Godzilla. It's a movie that I had absolutely no knowledge of going in compared to some of the Showa era films, and I really enjoyed it. It goes for a very serious, dark tone like the original and pulls it off quite well. The political debate of how the governments of the world would react to a situation like this is a neat concept, and was very interesting to watch, surprisingly. I think Shin Godzilla actually took a bit of inspiration now, as some of its themes reflect what is seen in that movie. But I will say this, I wish the movie had more of the main star, Godzilla. Now, whilst he has quite a lot of screen time in this film, like 18 minutes I think, I wish he did a bit more. He mostly does just walk around, occasionally destroying a building or two, which I know it's what he's all about. I might be alone in saying this, but I wish he was doing something more exciting, like throwing Anguis or something to fight. But apart from that, I really did enjoy this one. It has one of the most gripping stories so far in my opinion, and the effects are amazing still to this day. I love Godzilla's design, the destruction, the darker themes. I highly recommend this one. Go check it out. Godzilla vs. Biollante from 1989. I have heard so much about how this movie is amongst the best Godzilla movies ever made according to fans. So, what did I think of it? Well, I'll get to that. 5 years have passed since Godzilla was trapped inside the volcano. Yes, he didn't die when he fell and he was simply just trapped inside there. A group of researchers are collecting tissue samples of Godzilla left behind after his attack. They were attacked by Americans who steal them but are quickly recovered by a mysterious man called SSS-9. I don't know, that's just what Wikipedia says. And I turned over to a doctor named Shirogami and his daughter Erica, who are working on trying to create genetically engineered plants to live in the Cerulean deserts. I'm sure you can guess how that goes. Meanwhile, the volcano entrapping Godzilla is starting to get pretty topsy-turvy. Fearing the monster's return, they create another Super X ship using Godzilla's own cells against him. Lots of biology in this one, folks. Shirogami's daughter is killed in the attack to steal the Godzilla cells from him. So 5 years later, he has kept her sick roses alive and has even spliced her DNA with a plant, hoping she can live on in them. I really don't understand how that works, but okay. The plant eventually grows into monstrous sizes and blooms to become Biollante. Godzilla is released as well due to the bombs planted by a terrorist group called Biollante, with Biollante calling out to Godzilla since in essence they are the same creatures sharing the same cells and all that. Biollante looks absolutely amazing. She looks awesome in this movie and is one I so want to come back in full HD in the Monsterverse. They fight in the water, and again I just gotta praise this film. It looks beautiful with the shots, the cinematography, the choreography of the fight scenes. I really can see why this is a lot of people's favorites, and the music. The music, man, easily in my top 3 so far. I loved the music. The last fight with Biollante and Godzilla is amazing. She is grown ginormous, even able to swallow Godzilla whole like a snake, until she is killed and disintegrated by his atomic breath, with her spores leaking up into space. Shibagami sees vision of his daughter one more time until he's 360 no-scoped by the SS9 killer like a true shad. All in all, yeah, this movie is really good, and they even finally brought back the classic Godzilla theme, because honestly the theme doesn't appear much in the franchise, at least up until now. And it sounds so good. There were some things I didn't like though, and I'm not sure if anyone else feels this way, but sometimes when I was watching, some scenes, especially some of the biology scenes, drag on way too long and can get boring at times. And the whole psychic subplot, which I realized I forgot to mention, they bring on these two psychics to talk to Biollante, aka the daughter of the scientist, and they kinda just exist there. Not much is really done with them, they felt really useless, but guess what? That's it. I found it really hard to complain about this movie. It is so good. I highly recommend watching this one too. Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. Again, is yet again a baller of a movie following a Japanese reporter named Terasawa as he covers a story on a real living dinosaur being sighted during the Pacific War by both the Americans and the Japanese. I'm sure you can guess what that dinosaur turned into. One of which being a man named Shindo who believes the creature protected him and his troops, so now he has a personal connection to it. But the Godzillasaurus Rex, as I'm gonna call it now, dies and actually becomes Godzilla due to nuclear bombs being tested in that area. I won't lie, this subplot was so interesting, actually seeing the creation of Godzilla, well kinda, you don't actually see him being rectified, I guess, but showing what it was before he became Godzilla was really neat. Back in modern day Japan, a UFO is spotted. No more alien subplots. No, I can't take it anymore. No more alien subplots. To show how I had an alien subplot almost every movie. I can't do this anymore! Which coincides with Godzilla being reawakened, so the aliens touch down explaining that they are from the year 2204 and are called the Futurians. They explain to the Japanese government how Godzilla will eventually destroy Japan and leave it covered with radiation for years. So they hatch a plan to actually go back in time and teleport the original Godzillasaurus Rex out of existence, so when they go back, Godzilla will be gone. Seems like a good plan, but hey, this is called Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, so I'm sure you can see where this is going. Turns out, wow, the aliens were bad all along. Who would have saw that coming?
Godzilla has disappeared. And now King Ghidorah has taken his place.
Why are you the way that you are? Honestly, every time I try to do something fun or exciting, you make it not that way.
And leave these three creatures called Doras, who now due to the nuclear test grow into King Ghidorah. So now in the current timeline, Godzilla doesn't exist and only King Ghidorah remains. You still following? Alright. Bit of an issue as you can tell, so now without a Godzilla, Japan seems doomed until they decide, hey, why not just create a new Godzilla? Because as it turns out, the original Godzillasaurus Rex was not erased from history, but in fact lay dormant at the bottom of the sea. So they send down a submarine to fill it with new radiation to create a new Godzilla. But when they get down there, Godzilla is already there chilling, realizing, oh shit, it's already been radioactivated. So now with the submarine, he grows even stronger. Oh my god, this movie is so convoluted looking back. Oh my god. Okay, so now with Godzilla back, he goes to fight Ghidorah, which is, I will lie, a bit of an underwhelming battle, at least this one. I did kind of expect more, but it was a bit lackluster in my opinion. Terasawa, Emmy, and this android guy eventually blow up the UFO which ends most of the Ghidorah's movements, so Godzilla destroys it. So now, oh shit, now we have Godzilla to take care of. We didn't think about that part. And now we get to what might be the funniest scene in all of these movies. So remember the guy who felt the connection to the Godzillasaurus Rex, Shindo? Well, he's here now, not looking any older than he did back in the 1940s apparently, as he looks toward the very same creature that saved him back in the Pacific War, sharing a sentimental stare. As he BOOM! Godzilla gives no shit! So now with Godzilla running about, what do they do now? Guess. I want you to just guess what they do. They go into the future to recover the same Ghidorah to bring it back to fight the same Godzilla. Only this time it's controlled by Emma as Mecha King Ghidorah. And she gets her ass kicked until, wait, he's hoisted into the air and launched into the sea. Why would that kill him? Yeah, I thought so. Anyway, so Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, as confusing and convoluted as it is an extremely entertaining Godzilla flick that does something quite new in the franchise. As confusing as it is, the time travel element is pretty interesting and delivers on a fun, action-packed ride that I absolutely love. The origins of Godzilla himself was something I never knew I wanted so badly. The only complaint I would have is that the fight scenes were a bit lacking, apart from the last one. I still love this movie and I'd rank it above all the other Ghidorah movies so far. Check this one out. Godzilla vs. Mothra, the battle for Earth. Ooh, this one is also so good. It's basically a remake of the classic from 1964. A lot of similar themes I noticed throughout, which isn't a bad thing, it's different enough to be its own thing entirely. 1 year after the battle with King Ghidorah, a large meteorite crashes into the ocean and awakens Godzilla after he had been hibernating. Meanwhile, a thief called AKIRA is attempting to steal from an ancient temple. He's captured but is given the chance to produce his sentence by his ex-wife and secretary, Ruzo, if he leads an expedition to Infant Island to remove a massive object standing in the way of the island being developed, that being Mothra's egg. Right off the bat, the movie does not jump around the fact that the movie is about climate change and the environment, which is a great idea for a Godzilla movie. Godzilla himself represents nuclear destruction, whilst Mothra is all about nature, conserving the planet and keeping it healthy and all that stuff. The movie does a great job at conveying this message 100%. It's also quite funny, honestly. This movie got quite a few laughs from me, like the bridge scene, which has to be a reference to Indiana Jones, right? And this character, Marutumo. Man, I love this guy. He is hilarious. Hello everybody, post-editing Tom here. So this guy is not called Marutumo, he's actually called Kenji. I don't know how I mixed up the company name with this character's name. I must have just... I wrote this script at about 1 or 2 in the morning, so that might explain it. So just for the rest of the review, if I call him Marutumo, he's actually called Kenji and not Marutumo. I'm just being an idiot. So yeah, just a heads up. I was just being dumb. So yeah, enjoy the rest of the video. Anyway, so him, his ex-wife, and Marutumo set out for Infant Island. It's revealed that he has a child who the wife has lied to, saying he's a crime fighter, so that she doesn't know he's actually a thief. This subplot, I'll talk more about it later. They eventually run into our two feared fairy twins, now named the Cosmos, who explain that the egg belongs to Mothra, an ancient monster who protected the Earth thousands of years ago, until an ancient civilization created a climate-changing device which upset the Earth so much it created its own version of Mothra named the Batra, an evil version of Mothra pretty much. So the egg was hidden, but due to human intervention it weakened the island so much so when the meteorite fell, it exposed it. Meanwhile, Batra is released from Siberia along with countless earthquakes, rising sea levels, typhoons, tornadoes. It's pretty much doomsday on its way, which now that I think about it, sounds very similar to our current state in the climate today. God damn it, if only we listened to the goddamn giant moth. Of course though, since humans are shitty, the Japanese government want to take the egg and use it as an attraction in Japan. Marutumo is tasked to do this, tricking the group saying it'll be a better place to have the egg hatch. This is of course a lie, and it hatches midway through the trip into its larvae form where Batra attacks it. And then Godzilla just shows up, giving Mothra time to flee. I think this is also the first time there's been an underwater fight in this series so far as well. Mothra besieged to lay waste to Japan, destroying everything in its way due to it hearing this song from the twins, which I gotta admit, sounds really nice.
Mahala, mahala mosura, tama, tama mosura.
They get her to calm down, but she's attacked by missiles. It looks dead, but it's just her first form ending, and she grows into this butterfly form, which looks really nice. Much fluff, really nice, 10 out of 10. Soon a volcano erupts with Godzilla stepping out, which he actually fell into underwater, and yes, again, the classic theme is used. Thank you, it sounds so good. The three of them eventually all meet up, and okay, one thing I gotta say, the laser explosion thing is getting a bit old. We've got two butterflies batting each other and there are still explosions happening here. How? Batra notices Godzilla and abandons Mothra to fight him instead. It's an epic fight and looks amazing as always. Mothra and Batra also have a sort of reunion, teaming up against Godzilla and dropping him into the sea where he is sealed by a magic Mothra spell to keep him at bay for a while. The twins say their goodbyes and go into Mothra, who flies into space to eventually destroy a massive meteorite that will destroy mankind. Phew, that was a lot. I really like this film, but I do got a few gripes gripes with it, my biggest one being Godzilla himself. He didn't need to be in this film, and I mean that. This easily could have been just a Mothra standalone film with Batra. I seriously don't think he needed to be here. Not that I'm complaining, he's awesome, obviously. But for real, I really don't think he needed to be here. As well as the whole subplot with the husband and the wife, was it ever really resolved in the end? Did they get together? I mean, it's not really hinted at. They seem to be figuring out their differences, but... yeah. I didn't find this story that compelling personally. Other than that, yep, this once again was a banger of a film. Highly recommend this one too. 4 out of 7 so far for this era. This is looking really good. Effects were amazing, the set pieces too. They've improved on them so much since the show era. I also found this shot just really funny. All in all, loved it. Check this one out. Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. Though, shouldn't it be Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 3, since Toho Mechagodzilla was technically the second one, so shouldn't this be the third? It takes place several months after Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, where a United Nation called, and I'm not making this up, the United Nations Godzilla Countermeasure Center, just rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it? Retrieves Mecha King Ghidorah's body from the ocean in order to study and eventually create Mechagodzilla. At this point, they are so sick of Godzilla's shit, and it's kinda hilarious to see in this movie. Meanwhile, a Japanese expedition find a giant egg on an island that is being guarded by Rodan, and I gotta say, Rodan looks amazing. He looks like a pteranodon and not this abomination in the show era. I forgot to mention in my show era segment, but for God's sake, Rodan looks awful. I don't care what year it was, you cannot excuse that face. He attacks the expedition team trying to take the egg, as it's the equivalent of someone trying to steal your child, until the big G shows up and presumably kills him. The egg is taken back, and what is believed to be Rodan turns out to be... he's back! My boy! Godzilla's son, and he actually looks like he resembles his father and not this deformed turd. And you want to know what they call it? Baby. They name it Baby. I don't know if the Japanese version has a different name, but the dub in English calls it Baby, and god damn it, he's cute. I'm not gonna deny it. This guy is adorable, and he cannot change my mind. You also might have noticed I haven't brought up any characters yet. This time around though, no, these guys are not that memorable. I don't even remember their names really. There's a guy who is obsessed with pteranodons who's kind of funny. He creates this pterosaur drone which he takes Mickey, the caretaker of the Godzillasaur's baby, a ride on. And I'm not being ignorant, I genuinely just didn't really find the humans at all endearing this time around. As Godzilla continues his stampede through Kyoto looking for the Godzillasaurus, he bumps into Mechagodzilla where they have their first fight, where Mecha gets his absolute ass handed to him. You know, if I had to handle a Godzilla situation, I'd do this. Create a machine that is powerful enough to hoist Godzilla up into the air, sealing his mouth shut so he can breathe his nuclear attack, etc. And yeet him into space, far away, into the goddamn sun if you have to. Just put him in space. Oh, that's right, that wouldn't work now. After Godzilla fails to locate his son, he leaves, and the baby is relocated in a little pen to be studied. They discover a second brain exists in the creature, so that must be the same for Godzilla. So they hatch a plan to beef up Mecha with a cable that will shoot into his ass, into the brain to electrify and hopefully kill him. There's also this scene where a group of children sing for the Godzillasaurus baby, and at least for the English dub, there is no way in hell this is coming from their mouths. And get this, since the song kinda made him mad, apparently it has some magical property. It also awakens Rodan somehow, so he's back now. So since it is known that Godzilla is tracking his son, they plan to use the baby as a diversion to draw him out so that Mechagodzilla can get the jump on him. But Rodan kind of ruins that by destroying the helicopter carrying the baby, so they're kind of forced to boot the Mecha early. Where Rodan proceeds again to get his ass kicked, even foaming at the mouth. Godzilla finally arrives and we get our epic showdown, and man, is it cool.
Jimmy, this some serious gourmet shit.
And so, yeah, Godzilla dies. He actually dies. His second brain is destroyed and he's paralyzed, a slow, agonizing death. Rodan attempts to save him but is shot out of the air, landing on Godzilla. The two slowly dying until Rodan transfers his life energy to save Godzilla, beefing him up until he beats the absolute shit out of Mecha. Bottom line, yeah, Rodan was a bit of a Deus Ex Machina, I'm not gonna lie. So with Mecha gone, Godzilla reigning supreme, they decide, well, he's gonna continuously be looking for his son, so let's just give him to him. And we have this very heartfelt goodbye between Mickey and the baby, which admittedly did make me a bit sad. I really do like the relationship those two built in the movie. And that was Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. Whilst it's my least favourite Heisei movie so far, this one is still great. I think the biggest problem personally for me is that the movie didn't feel like it knew what it wanted to be. Whether that was a Mechagodzilla movie, a Baby Godzilla movie, a Rodan movie, etc. I just felt like Rodan did not need to be in this film at all. Literally, at all. I would have replaced him with Mothra even. I just don't see Rodan as this creature who would give its life essence to save another. But that's just me. Characters this time were very uninteresting. I really did not care too much about them, apart from Mickey and a relationship with Baby. But it's still a solid movie with impactful emotional moments, fantastic effects, and an interesting story. I just feel like compared to the other ones, this one is slightly weaker, but not by a bunch. I still had a great time with it. I also only learned now that the explosions that go on in these movies are actually fireworks. I don't know how I didn't notice that sooner.
God damn it!
Godzilla vs. Spacegodzilla. Is this gonna be controversial? I'm not sure. Oh well. This movie I really did not enjoy. In fact, I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't enjoy it. I was really looking forward to this one. I mean, it's called Godzilla vs. Spacegodzilla. How can I not be? This film stems from one major problem for me personally. And remember, if you do enjoy it, that is amazing. I'm really glad you do. But I find this film to be so boring. I was struggling to pay attention, and not even the monster fights could save me from almost falling asleep. But anyway, so Godzilla vs. Spacegodzilla takes place 1 year after G vs. Mecha 2, and once again the United Nations Godzilla Countermeasure Center are once again hatching plans to defeat Big G. They devised two plans, one called Project M, which involves making another mecha monster better than Mechagodzilla called Mothra, and one called Project T, which, get this, aims to somehow plant a telepathy device on the Godzilla so that Japan can control him and stay him away. I'm not kidding. Mickey is back at least, who is quite the avid supporter of Godzilla, being completely against either of these plans as she thinks it's immoral. And Baby is back too. He's been redesigned, and yeah, as cute as he is, I still way prefer Mega 2's design. It looks more realistic and less goofy. Honestly, I feel like this too kinda harkens back to the Showa era in a few ways. It's not bad, I just think the other is far better. It's a complete overhaul and doesn't carry over well, as I wouldn't even think this is the same Baby that we saw in the last movie. Especially since they had the idea to bring Mickey back and they barely have any scenes together. I know it's not stated outright that this is the same character, but come on man, have some continuity. He looks nothing like him, he's even shorter. And well, apart from Mickey in a few scenes, I legitimately did not care for any of the characters. I didn't feel gripped. I just didn't care this time around. Mecha vs. Godzilla had the Mickey and Baby relationship going for it, which is sweet. But this one, Godzilla destroy a big building, think go boom. So remember how Mothra left Earth to fly into space and destroy that comet? Well, it turns out that a huge space monster is now hurtling towards Earth, where Mickey is notified of this after Mothra releases these tiny Mothras that then form to create the fairy twins who warn her. And so, what is this space monster, you may ask? Well, remember how in Godzilla vs. Biollante, how Biollante's cells were cast into space along with a piece of Godzilla sticking to Mothra? Well, since they were Godzilla cells, they have now absorbed cosmic rays from exploding stars and have travelled through a black hole and re-emerged from a white hole, which then rapidly evolved into Spacegodzilla. I didn't even know white holes were a thing until this movie. The Megaera intercepts this cosmic invader, but is forced to retreat with Project T being a complete failure, until it turns out that Project T was actually sabotaged by this mad doctor who kidnaps Mickey, so that they alone can control Godzilla, making them very powerful figures in the Japanese mafia. This movie is quite action-packed with gunshots and explosions, and yet is somehow still really boring because I don't care about any of these characters apart from Mickey, so the stakes are kinda low. With Spacegodzilla landing on Earth, things are tight as Mickey is told by the fairies to continue helping Big G as he's their only hope. Then there admittedly is a very awesome scene where Space G creates a crystal fortress harnessing energy from the crystals via the Fukuoka Tower. Fukuoka? 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 Godzilla shows up, of course, and I will admit his trampling over cities in classic fashion was pretty cool to see. And then we have our epic showdown with Godzilla, Spacegodzilla, and the Megaera. And it is awesome. Spacegodzilla is defeated and his body evaporates back into space. Wait, isn't that legit how he even came to exist? Won't he just come back? In fact, one of the characters actually says that. But oh well, happy ending. Oh, they're all gonna die. Godzilla then returns to Buff Island to be with his son, and that's how the movie ends. For a movie with such an interesting premise and explosions everywhere, it's really unfortunate that none of it really excited me. The last fight was of course amazing, it's the best part of the film, but overall, I just didn't like it, and I really want to like this film, but I just can't. So just to be positive, I'll list some positives. Baby Godzilla. I don't need to say anything more. Spacegodzilla's design is one of my favourite kaiju designs in the whole genre. The final fight, as I said, is great, and Mickey's defense of Godzilla is quite touching, and there's a scene at the end where she actually removes his Project T amplifier, and he turns around as if flanking her in a way. I thought that was really sweet. It's still a bombastic movie, but personally, it just didn't do it for me.
Son,
You're not my dad! You want to hear something? Ugly ass fucking.
Godzilla vs. Destoroyah, or as I've been saying it all these years thanks to goddamn James Wolfe, it's pronounced Godzilla vs. Destoroyah!
yeah, that's the official name. Destoroyah!
Anyway, so this movie marked the 40th anniversary of Godzilla, so Toho decided to go out with one last movie. Of course, now we know that it wasn't, there were plenty more movies that came after, but this was slated to be the last ever movie with Godzilla actually dying. So, let's get into how that happens. The plot is pretty simple. Godzilla is on the verge of a goddamn nuclear meltdown because he's fueled by radiation. This means his heart, or heart since there's also one in his ass, is a reactor and it's beginning to break down. Which doesn't sound too bad until you find out that if Godzilla does this, the whole world is gonna be engulfed and destroyed. No, not just Japan, the whole damn planet. We see Godzilla destroying Hong Kong for once, and I gotta say, I love the design in this movie. Glowing red with his dorsal plates also glowing red. I would kill for a figure of this one. So Mickey is actually back, which I enjoy. I'm glad when movies bring back recurring characters, even if they don't receive that much character development. It makes the series feel like all the movies are connected, which gives them better impact when it all ends. Which I think is what the Heisei Era was really missing. When I think about it, this movie has barely any character development at all. And you know what? I'm fine with it. This movie is solely about Godzilla, and I'm glad they went in that direction. Godzilla's son is also back, who's grown up and finally resembles his father. He has this green tint to him as well, which I believe is a reference to the fact that the original Godzilla suit was actually green. Anyways, I'm getting off track. So, remember how the original Godzilla died to the oxygen destroyer? Well, from that original spot, little life forms from the pre-Cambrian era have mutated into little Destoroyahs and have began ravaging Japan, in what I think is a heavy reference to Alien with the colonial marines. In fact, they actually look like the alien predator mashed up. It even has the second Mothra that comes out. Eventually, the mini Destoroyahs evolve into one giant Destoroyah, and it and Godzilla Jr. fight where he actually wins. The father and son have a meet up until the final form of Destoroyah shows up, hoists Godzilla Jr. into the air, and drops him onto a stadium, blasting him with micro-oxygen, ultimately killing him. And this pisses Godzilla off. No one gets to hit my son except me. Destoroyah de-evolves back into those crawly spider thingies, but Godzilla simply uses a nuclear pulse, killing them all. He then attempts in a very sad scene to bring his son back to life. I really enjoyed that they give Godzilla a heartwarming personality when his son dies. Until Destoroyah returns again in his final form of the fight where Godzilla doesn't actually beat him. Instead, it's the armies. They've actually been keeping track on Godzilla's temperature, and if it reaches above 1200 degrees, then his body will melt into the Earth's core, killing everything. So they create these freezing missiles that slow Godzilla's meltdown until he can disintegrate safely, and yeah, this at the time was the official death of Godzilla. At the time, according to different sources, this news wasn't just relegated to Japan. Places like America were showing it on the news, even though these movies weren't even coming out in those places at all. It's such a sad yet beautiful scene as he decays, marking the death of one of the most famous movie characters of all time. Well, until 3 years later with the American Godzilla, and the fact that at the end of this movie, Godzilla's energy infuses into his son so he goes into full size, which they never followed up on, instead creating an entirely new rebooted series. So, yeah, all in all, I absolutely adore this movie. The effects, the emotional moments, the Destoroyah himself. Honestly, I like that this movie just focused on Godzilla solely and didn't really have any character development at all. But you know what? Honestly, I would pay to just see a sole Godzilla movie with nothing, no humans, just Godzilla and other kaijus fighting or something like that. You could easily do it because Godzilla vs. Kong shows that Godzilla can display so many emotions. So yeah, that's the one thing I want from this series. I really just want a Godzilla standalone film. And that was the Heisei Era of Godzilla movies. And I gotta say, what an improvement. Apart from Spacegodzilla, I thoroughly enjoyed every single movie in this era, and I'm glad that each movie followed on from the last one. It was like I was watching a continuous story unfold with reoccurring characters with fresh new themes being integrated and amazing special effects. And the music, easily my favourite music of the series so far, and I adore how they finally use Godzilla's main theme again in almost every movie. My favourite being Godzilla vs. Biollante. And well, I can't believe I'm saying this, but the characters, at least some of them, really good. Mickey was probably my favourite. I adore the relationship she has with Godzilla Jr. and how that evolves through the last 3 movies, as well as AKIRA and his wife from Godzilla vs. Mothra. I love their interactions and actually care for them. I can't say this enough, I love this era. Each movie has a distinct personality personality, and whenever full Godzilla fought, tons of screen time was given to them, giving them their own spotlight. But if there's one thing I hate, there's no Angus. Where is my boy Angus? I was waiting movie after movie for my man to show up, but alas, I would have to wait. So, what was my favourite movie and which ones do I recommend? Well, I'd have to say my favourite is easily Godzilla vs. Destoroyah! I felt like it focused on Godzilla so much with an amazing send-off, and it's probably the most emotional of all the movies so far. I'm a stickler for sad moments like that. And to recommend, well, I recommend all of them, apart from Godzilla vs. Spacegodzilla. But hey, I know that tons of people love that film, so it's entirely up to you. It wasn't my cup of tea, but hey, maybe it'll be your cup of tea. After the Heisei Era, Toho put the series on a 5-year break and returned with a millennium out of movies which we will cover next, including the American movie from 1998. And that, everyone, was chapter 2 of my Godzilla review series. I really hope you enjoyed. This was actually a lot easier to make. Well, I only had 7 movies to cover this time instead of 15. Yeah, doing 15 movies was so daunting. I was so tired after making that video. So this one was actually a lot easier to create. Yeah, man, I absolutely love these movies. Check them out. Now, some of them are really hard to find online. I mean, there's places you can't even buy them. So you do gonna do a bit of a, pickety niggity, if you know what I mean. So yeah, that's gonna be it for me, and I'll see you all in chapter 3 of Godzilla, the review series. Take care, and goodbye.